Coming today, and we just wanted to ask you a few questions. My name is Donica.
My name is Elena.
I'm Robert.
And I'm Tommy, and thanks for having your time. And how are you today, Paudie?
Not too bad, though. Not too bad. Day off today, so just chilling out this morning. And said that more than happy to come and help you out with the interview today.
All right, thanks for that. And first of all, we'd like to ask a few questions about your early life. So our first question would be, what encouraged you to start playing soccer?
Well, I suppose I was growing up, and we had a bit of a field out the side of our house. So my dad threw a couple of goals out there when I was probably 4 or 5, and I had a few neighbours around that went to school with. So we first of all started playing around in the field next to our house, and then my first club was Kilcornan. So not too far from me at the moment. There was no club in Bresca, or there's no underage teams in Bresca where we were from. So through one of my neighbours, his dad kind of worked back in the area, so they managed to rope myself and TJ, my friend, in. So that was probably the earliest. I think we maybe started with the under 6s back there. So it was a long time ago now.
And what was your experience like playing with your underage teams?
Yeah, so as I said, I first started with Kilcorn. I think I was there for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then it was two local people in Ballybrown National School decided to start up the underage, Mary and Kev Conway. So I think I started playing with them maybe under 10s. And yeah, Bresca was great because it kind of meant that you were playing with the people that you were in school with in Ballybrown and traveling here, there, and everywhere. So it was a nice place to grow up and play, especially, as I said, get to with all your friends.
Did you enjoy your school time here in Pallaskenry?
Yeah, so I suppose following on from Ballybrown, a lot of us ended up making the trip back to Pallas on the bus. So I had 5 great years there. I suppose it was your first time kind of going out outside Ballybrown and meeting new people. So still speak to a lot of the people that I did do my school with back there. And yeah, we had a good couple of years in the hurling as well. We managed to win a few tournaments with Mr. Chambers and them. So yeah, it was a really nice place to go to school. And as I said, the crack was always good.
And do you still have contact with your childhood friends?
Yeah, so the probably 6 or 7 that, as I said, made the trip back to Pallas on the bus. We still have the old WhatsApp group chat now, and they get over to a few of my games every year. And I was only back home a couple of weeks ago. I was actually at one of your first year games in Ballybrown, and yeah, we still get to meet up on weekends like that. There's obviously a few of us have moved away. I'm living over here, and there's a couple gone abroad as well. But when we can, it's really nice to meet up, and as I said, look back on the times we had in school and in college together.
Thank you, Paudie. I will now pass you on to Robert.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, Paudie, I'm Robert. I'm from Clorina, and I want to ask you a few questions about your experience moving to England. My first question is, how did you adjust to life in England?
So the first couple of months were hard enough, to be fair, I won't lie. I moved over in January just after Christmas, so the days weren't too long. It got dark quick, so I ended up spending a lot of time. I was living with just one other lad who was driving. I didn't have a car over there for the first few months, so I was kind of relying on him for lifts kind of here, there, and everywhere from training into the shops and that. So it was my first time moving away from home. Obviously, I'd done a bit of university in UL, but I was still living with my parents. So it was that kind of first, I suppose, time you get to kind of stand on your own 2 feet and figure things out, and suddenly try to cook for yourself and clean for yourself and all those kind of things. So doing that kind of, as I said, with just myself, one of the lads, it took a bit getting used to, but I got the hang of it after a couple of months.
Yeah, my next question is, what was the biggest culture shock you experienced after moving?
I suppose it probably links back to that. Just not having the people around that you were kind of used to growing up with. It was more the downtime that I kind of found it a bit weird getting used to. A lot of the lads that I would have been playing at Leeds with at the time, they might have lived kind of outside the area, so they wouldn't have been living that close to me. So As soon as training was done, they were kind of getting off back to wherever they were from, and to kind of their home friends, and you were kind of suddenly left kind of maybe trying to fill the time. So that was probably the biggest thing to get used to. And being a footballer, we do have a lot of downtime. You kind of finish training in early afternoon, and from then till training the next morning, you kind of have time off. So yeah, that was probably the biggest thing to get used to.
My next question is, how did you feel having to move to a big club like Leeds? What was that like for you?
Yeah, a bit of a shock, I won't lie. I think the first instance I got of that was obviously coming from Limerick FC to Leeds. It was a big jump, and I was a big Man United fan growing up as a kid. So I had like anyone does, I had put out a few tweets, maybe supporting Man United in the months previous to moving to Leeds, and quite quickly realised when I moved to Leeds that there was a big hatred between the two clubs. From some of my tweets were clipped up by the fans, and they were asking questions as to why we've signed a Man United fan. So that was probably my first memory of thinking, wow, I've obviously kind of gone to a really big club here, and it means a lot to the people of Leeds. So yeah, it took a while to get used to, but I think once you start get playing, training every day with the lads, it kind of becomes second nature, and you forget that kind of the club you're playing at, and you just kind of treat it as you're going in every day trying to get better, and obviously looking forward to the games on the weekend.
Thanks, Paudie. I'll now pass you on to Helena.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Elena, and I'm going to ask you a few questions about your club career. My
Thank you.
first question is, what club did you like playing with most?
Probably my previous club, Bradford City. That was probably my most enjoyable time as a player. I've obviously had a bit of success with Limerick FC before moving to England, and then obviously getting to play for Leeds was a big honour. But I suppose at Leeds I was viewed as kind of a youngster, and you mightn't feel as kind of part of as a team as I did at Bradford. I obviously had a little loan spell at Blackpool as well in between. But yeah, it was at Bradford where I kind of got most of my games, and I was a regular. I got to captain the side on a number of occasions. So it probably was the place that most felt like home, and I was still living in Leeds and very settled. My girlfriend had moved over as well, so it felt like we'd kind of, it was home away from home. And yeah, so that was probably my most enjoyable time.
My next question is, what do you want to accomplish in your club career? And do you see yourself as an international player?
Yeah, that's definitely the aim, I suppose, to try and represent your country. That was always the aim. I've managed to do it a few times underage, but to do it for the senior squad would be the aim. And club wise, just to play as high as I can. I'm obviously back in League One at the moment, and just to try and maybe play in the Championship, and one day, you never know, try and make it to the Prem. That's the aim, I think.
And what is the process of changing clubs like?
It was in the off season. So our season finished in May, and my 3-year contract was up at Bradford. So it meant I had a decision to make. I had a new contract from Bradford kind of on the table, or else I had a few options to go to a few new clubs. So most of the players over here would have an agent just to help you with the contract negotiations and things like that. That maybe us ourselves wouldn't be as clued up on the kind of legal side of it. So yeah, he kind of does his job then and find the potential clubs that you can go to. One of them was Lincoln. So kind of in the off season, then the kind of months of May and June, you kind of go speak to these clubs and kind of figure out which one kind of suits you best, both obviously football wise and financially wise. So yeah, came to the decision that Lincoln was probably the best fit for me to play more games, to play in League One and try and test myself a bit better. So it's a bit of an uneasy time because technically you're obviously unemployed, so you're trying to figure out which is the best new job for you. So a bit uneasy, but once I made the decision, I was happy enough.
And it's a lot process, the medical work and this stuff.
Yeah, that's the side of it that's quite boring from a player's point of view. So obviously from a club's point of view, it's very important because it's basically a risk management kind of assessment from them. They're trying to figure out obviously how fit you are, how likely you are to get injured once you do sign. So you can see why they have to do it from their point of view, but from ours, it's a very long drawn out process. It kind of starts off with functional testing on the bed, so kind of just going through your range of motion in all different stretches, a few kind of tests in the physio room, and then you move into the gym and they'll test you in the gym on different exercises just to see how obviously strong you are throughout your whole body. And again, it all comes back to risk assessment. They kind of hand that medical form over to the chief executive of the club, who's looking to do the deal, and they kind of either say he's a high risk or a low risk, and that's where the contract negotiations comes into it. So yeah, it can be a long day from start to finish, but worthwhile in the end.
And if you could choose, what has your favorite moment in your career so far?
We probably playing for Leeds, just because I was quite young at the time. I'd only been over there a couple of months by the time I made my first team debut. So yeah, my sister and my dad managed to get to the game as well at Ellen Road. So in front of probably 40 or 50,000 people, it was it was a good occasion, and one that I still look back on now.
Okay, now Donaga is going to ask you a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paudie, my name is Donaga. I'm from Kildimo, but this year I have moved to Preston myself.
Oh, very good.
I'm going to ask you about like how your life is currently. How do you prepare for matches?
Yeah, so it's fairly simple. Kind of leading in towards the game on the weekend, we'll have a training session on Friday morning that will be very light. Probably going through the team shape. The manager will have a meeting in the morning, and he'll name the team, and then you'll go out on the pitch and you'll do a light session. You'll do kind of set pieces and stuff like that that you're going to do in the game the following day, and then from then it's kind of all about just getting your body right. Obviously, there's lads at different stages of their career who've had a lot of injuries or have not maybe had many, so it'll be kind of in the gym, and you'll do your stretching and whatever kind of programs the physio give you to make sure you're right for the game. And then you probably go and get a rub or do your ice baths, and then it's trying to get home as early as you can on a Friday and just rest up. Friday will probably be our shortest day of the week at the training ground. A lot of it spent obviously at home off your feet, and just trying to be as fresh as you can for the game on a Saturday. And I suppose on a match day then itself, my routine is fairly simple. We have a little 2-year-old dog, a Dachshund puppy, so he needs walking every morning. So I bring him out on a Saturday morning nice and early, have my pre-match meal, and then I'll jump in the car and head down the road to Lincoln. So that's kind of been it now this year.
What's your dog's name?
It's Alfie. He's a little Dachshund.
Right. And how many trainings do you have a week?
So we train generally 4 days a week, assuming that we don't have a game on a Tuesday. Down in League 1 and League 2, we tend, obviously we have 46 games a season, so it's a bit more than the Premier League. So we have to kind of fit them in. So you do tend to play Saturday and then you play Tuesday again quite a lot. But if we weren't, we'd have a session on a Monday that will be kind of fairly heavy. You'll do gym or pitch in the morning, and then you do gym in the afternoon, and that would be similar on a Tuesday. And then Wednesday is always your day off during the week, and then Thursday, Friday, as I said kind of before, they're a bit lighter, kind of leading into the game on a Saturday, and then Sunday is our other day off of the week. So Wednesdays and Sundays are kind of 2 days of downtime.
Yeah, were the trainings much harder at Leeds considering they're like a bigger club?
Yeah, it depends on the manager really, and that's what I've kind of come to realize since my time over here. I've had a fair few. I think I had over my 3 years at Bradford alone, I had 6 or 7 managers. Similarly at Leeds, I was only there for maybe 2.5 years, and I probably had 3 or 4 different managers. So with that level of changeover, they all have their kind of own ideas. So it depends on what they want from the training sessions. I remember when I first went over there, Gary Monk liked to kind of do, they all base their training weeks off kilometers kind of done. You're obviously all GPSed up. So some of them want you to do 50 or 60 kilometers throughout the 4 days of training. So it depends how they want to break that up and you get it, or other ones only want to do 25 or 30 kilometers a week. So it all depends on the manager at the time. Currently at Lincoln, our manager does, and the S&C coach and the sports scientists, they like to get a fairly high level of kilometers in between Monday and Friday, just to obviously make sure that you're as fit as possible. So it can be quite heavy at the moment.
Yeah, and do you have much time to rest and do your own things at home?
Yeah, I suppose, as I said up before, Wednesdays and Sundays will be our typical days off. Today, I try to get kind of bits and bobs done that I can't do on a normal day, like just simple things like food shops, haircuts, stuff like that, walk the dog. And then obviously Sunday will be my only day off with my girlfriend, so we tend to maybe go out, and we're right beside the Yorkshire Dales where we live, which is kind of like a big national park. So we bring the dog up there and maybe go for a Sunday roast or something like that. So no, I can't complain now with the 2 days off, because as I said, we finish relatively early compared to any other job. We don't do 9 to 5. It will be tending kind of more 9:30 to maybe 2:30 will be our kind of working hours at the training ground. So we can't complain in that terms.
Yeah. And now we're gonna move on to like rapid fire questions. Just
Yeah.
like one or the other. Favorite fast food restaurant?
It's probably a UK one. I'm not sure it's in Ireland yet. Five Guys. It's like a burger joint, but very, very good.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? The Gentleman on Netflix.
What was your favorite subject when you were in school?
Favorite subject? Probably be a toss up. If Armel's in the room, it's French. If she's not, it's probably woodwork.
Who is the best player you've ever played against?
Jack Grealish. Played against Aston Villa when I was at Leeds, at Villa Park, and there was himself and John Terry in that team. So it's probably a toss up between either one of them.
What's your dream five-a-side team if you could pick one?
Dream five-a-side. That's a good question. Probably go Buffon and nets. Being a Man United fan, we go Rio Ferdinand at the back. Midfield, I'd have to throw in an Irish one, so I'd go Roy Keane and maybe Kevin De Bruyne, and obviously Messi up top.
Wouldn't have yourself in now.
No. Can't be anywhere near that.
What's your favorite Pallas teacher? And don't worry that Armel is not here.
To be fair, I got on with most of the teachers back there. I obviously had a good relationship towards the end with Mr. D. Ryan, just because he was so heavily involved in the soccer. So I got on with Mr. D. Ryan very well.
And cats or dogs?
Have to be dogs for me. Yeah, I've always grown up around them and never been a big cat person.
Summer or winter?
Summer, definitely.
You mentioned that you played under a lot of managers. Which manager was your favorite manager, and what manager would you love to play under?
Good question. To be fair, Mark Kennedy at the moment at Lincoln, he's kind of one of these new forward-thinking managers. So I think he's been very enjoyable. Out of the previous ones, it would probably be Paul Heckenbottom. He obviously gave me my debut at Leeds. He's at Sheffield United at the moment, doing well with them. So he was another one that I enjoyed working under, and one that I'd like to play under. I think I'd love to play under Pep, just because watching his Man City teams there, he seems to tactically tweak it kind of between games and things like that. I think you'd always be learning something new under.
You also mentioned about the fans. Would you like to play, obviously you went through COVID, do you find it easier playing in front of fans or without the fans?
Oh geez, there's no comparison. I was only talking to one of the lads during the week about kind of how much of an anticlimax it was during that kind of 2021 season, when we were playing in front of no one. It was I think at Bradford at the time we were sitting mid-table, kind of maybe March, April time, when we didn't really have any chance of getting promoted or obviously relegation. So between then and the end of the season, it was quite hard to get yourselves kind of motivated for games, with obviously not much riding on them, and also no fans there as well to kind of create that atmosphere. So yeah, definitely no comparison.
And Paudie, we know last season you had a game where for Bradford, you lost a tooth and then went on to score a goal. What was that like?
Yeah, I suppose everyone asked me was it painful, and the honest answer is actually it wasn't. It wasn't too bad. Mainly because I think it was a cold January afternoon. I remember against Salford, but I was absolutely sweating when it happened. So I think the adrenaline just kind of gets you through it. And then in the second half, luckily managed to get myself on the end of a cross, and obviously the funny photo comes out after. But yeah, I since ended up losing 2 more kind of after that, because I managed to push the tooth back in for maybe 10 days, something like that. But we played again then about 10 days later, and it came out again, and 2 more came out with it. So I've currently have 3 fake ones that I kind of just take in and out for games. So if you look closely at some of the photos, it looks a bit funny, but I'll hopefully get them sorted once I hang up the boots and finish playing. I'll get them sorted properly.
I was just wondering, have you seen your FIFA card?
I've not. No, I'm not a big FIFA man anymore. I used to be when I was younger.
I'll just call out your stats to you. You have 51 pace, 21
That's about
shooting,
right.
40 passing, 49 dribbling, 63 defending, and 80 physical. And overall, you're 64 rated.
That's probably fair enough. To be fair, physical and heading will probably be the 2 that are up there for me. So I can't really complain.
And Paudie, do you have a favourite goal you ever scored in your career?
Probably one that sticks out was I was on loan at Blackpool, and we played in the League Cup against Arsenal at the Emirates. So I managed to score past Petr Cech, which was a nice one to have. And my dad had flown over for it. He was there with my girlfriend in the crowd as well, and they managed the away end at Blackpool was sold out, so they ended up in the Arsenal end. And he said that when I scored, they were the only 2 to celebrate in the whole stand around them. So it was a nice goal to get.
And on Paudie, just wondering, when you were at Leeds, was Marcelo Bielsa there? Or
He was. So Marcelo came in my final year at Leeds. That's when I originally went out on loan to Blackpool, and then to Bradford after. So yeah, I'd done a full pre-season under Bielsa, and it was quite intense to say the least. I spoke about our training schedule at the time at Lincoln now, but Marcelo went off a completely different time schedule. It was kind of, you could train from anywhere between 9 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night, and during the day you'd go to a local hotel and kind of have a siesta. So that pre-season was probably one that sticks out in my memory, that very tough. But obviously he went on to do unbelievable at Leeds, and if you ever end up at Leeds, you'll see a load of kind of murals on the walls, and the streets named after him. And he's still classed as a bit of a legend around here.
When you were growing up, was there any other sports you enjoyed playing?
Yeah, obviously the guy back home, big hurling parish in Ballybrown. So I think roped into keep playing that till I was probably 17 or 18. I think one memory of the hurling that sticks out was I since got into regional from Bresca the year before I signed for Limerick, and we were in a National Cup final under 16s, but it clashed with maybe I think a week before we had Patrickswell in the first round of the minor championship. So even though I wasn't supposed to play, I got roped in, and the first puck of the game I tried to block down Keane Lynch, and dislocated and ripped all the ligaments to my elbow. That was quite a hard story to tell the soccer coaches in regional a week before the final. So I managed to strap it up and play. But from kind of then on, the minute I went into Limerick, they kind of made me put a stop to it. So, but no, I enjoyed the Gaelic football and hurling both with Ballybrown and the school.
And just the last question, if you could say something to your 16 years old, what would you say?
16-year-old self. I suppose just kind of dream as big as you can. At 16, I probably didn't realise that I'd end up over in England. I probably thought I'd go the route that a lot of people do, and obviously go to college and get a degree and kind of that kind of route. But yeah, so I suppose that obviously not being just a footballer, but no matter what it is, music, arts, whatever it is, just if that's your passion, just go for it, and yeah, see what happens.
Thank you, Paudie, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paudie.
Thanks very much, lads. I appreciate that. Thank you.